Hunt. Best offensive player and their best defensive player.
Today's guest is a special one, Jamie. We spoke to a player who played 11 seasons in the NFL without missing a single game or even a single snap, right up until he tore his bicep and ended his career. He had an NFL record, an incredible streak of 10,363 consecutive snaps, all with my favourite team, the Cleveland Browns. He's the loyalist man ever. He was a 10-time Pro Bowler, 8-time All-Pro, with 6 of them being first team, while widely regarded as the best left tackle in football. Jamie, Joe Thomas, how good was that?
Mate, everyone is going to enjoy this chat. And honestly, I'm just loving how excited you are. I think still buzzing. Joe, absolute legend of the game, genuine Hall of Famer, and just a ripping dude, hey? The fact that he helped us get to the Super Bowl and really helped get OTE to where we are today. It was so awesome to have him on and chat ball, chat the draft. He's an absolute legend. And I tell you what, everyone's got to get around a bit of Hall of Fame beef.
He has an incredible story, and I think if you're a football fan, great, you'll love it. But even if you don't love football, I think this one will be. If you're just a sports fan, it was great. Talking about the connection, as you said, and why he thinks the game coming to Melbourne is such a huge thing for the growth of the game in Australia is massive as well.
100%. Right, we'll shut up. Let's get into it.
Yo! Well, today it's an exciting day for Outback to End Zone as we have the Hoff Hall of Fame left tackle, the best left tackle to ever do it, Cleveland Browns legend Joe Thomas. Joe, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. It's great being connected all the way around the world and talking to a couple big NFL fans.
We've just caught you back from the farm. How's farm life and father life post-football going?
It's going great. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. You know, I've been farming since I was even playing in the NFL, but got into beef and Wagyu beef right when I retired at the encouragement of my kids. And we kind of grew from just having a few animals, raising for family and friends, to now we're selling coast to coast in the U.S. We're selling online on HallOfFameFarms.com, and we're doing direct deliveries, and it's turning into a real business, and it's been a lot of fun getting to spend a lot of time on the farm. Today we were sorting our cows. We're getting ready to start having calves in about a week, so putting the cows that are getting close to calving in the barn so that they've got nice, comfortable pens that they can deliver and have the first few beautiful moments with their calves. And if they need any help from us, colostrum, or need any help warming up their calves, we'll be right there. So it's kind of fun being able to pivot from in the morning, working out with my group, doing some business stuff, going out to the farm, doing some work with cattle, getting cow manure all over myself, and then jumping on the pod with you guys in Australia. And I'll be coaching track this afternoon with the kids. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on, but it's all great stuff.
Mate, that's incredible. I feel a bit guilty saying this right after you're talking about the calves, but you're talking to two blokes that absolutely love a steak as well, mate. So,
guys, I love it.
How many cattle have you got on the farm?
So on the farm, we've got about 500, and then we've got about another 600 or 700 that are at my partner farm up in Minnesota at Angie's Acres. He kind of does the finishing, so he feeds them for the last 6-8 months until they go off to heaven and become those delicious Hall of Fame Wagyu steaks that you get to enjoy on your plate.
Love it. We have to get ourselves some Hall of Fame beef next time we're over, and we can't wait for it to be accessible in Australia for sure.
That would be awesome. Although you guys raise some pretty good Wagyu over there too. So you may be best coming over to the States, enjoying some when you're in Cleveland. We're in a bunch of restaurants throughout Northeast Ohio. We've got great burgers, and we've got great skirt steaks and hangers and stuff at local bars and restaurants. And then some of the high-end places have our strip steaks and our ribeyes and our fillets, and it'll definitely be the best steak experience you've ever had. I can guarantee that. So you don't want to miss it.
For sure, for sure. We'll be locked in next season when we're over watching a Browns game. I have no doubt about it. So, I guess the start of how we connected is pretty crazy, and I'm very grateful that we connected how we did. So the listeners that don't know, with our Super Bowl trip, we were sort of trying to get tickets for the Super Bowl from the other side of the world, and just sending out a lot of messages. And I guess from my point of view, my cold DM when I sent at about 10 p.m. after I'd had a few drinks with a few mates, and I thought, oh, why not? I'll give the Hoffa a call. What connected with you, I guess, to feel like you wanted to jump on board and help out as much as you could?
Well, it was just the passion that you guys have, right? I lived in Germany a couple of years ago. I was coaching American football, and I was completely blown away by how popular the NFL is over there. And it's not easy. I mean, when I was over there, the Browns made the playoffs that year, and it was super exciting. But we actually had to watch it as a family on tape recorded from the night before because all the games are happening in the middle of the night. And so if you can be a passionate fan, especially of the Browns, with the struggles that we have had, or even just an NFL fan, and you love the game so much, I feel like if there was anything I could do to help you live your dream and get an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl and be part of an NFL game and the experience that we love so much, I think it's so cool. And I'm a big believer in trying to spread the game and the popularity of football and the NFL from sea to shining sea and beyond. I think it's pretty cool. So it was great to be able to connect on social media and maybe in my own little special way, help you get out to the Super Bowl and kind of help promote your podcast. And then with the games being played in Australia next year, I think it's just perfect timing for you guys and what you're doing with your podcast and continuing to grow in another new continent for the NFL.
It has been crazy. And that was probably, well, I'm so grateful because I think it was the first step, and it added a real lot of validity to the challenge that we were trying to do. Well, because we were connected with you, it led to connections with the Browns, with Snapback Sports, and eventually a ticket and access to Radio Row and networking that we could have never dreamed about. So we're very grateful for that. And I think the big thing for us is, and since connecting with you, has been seeing the passion from Aussie fans. Like, we have to wake up at 3, 4, 5 a.m. to watch the games every week. And when you watch the Browns put up 16 points per game like they did last year, it come tough times during the season. But we're so passionate about sport in Australia, and the tickets for the Melbourne game sold out in under an hour yesterday. And the passion there was over 100,000 tickets too. So I think the ability to grow in Australia is going to explode, especially when it becomes more accessible with it in our own backyard. I guess for you, what did you find when you did your work in Germany? How did you think the game grew, and what do you think is the most important part to showcase American football to help it grow internationally?
Well, I think the NFL is really smart with their approach of trying to get games overseas in different countries because watching on TV is an amazing experience. It's incredible. You know, it's how I consume most of my football. But I think there's an entertainment aspect that going to a game, going to an NFL game is unlike any other sporting event that I've ever been to. And I was really lucky when I was over in Europe, got to go to some of the Euro Cup games and had a chance to go to some other international sporting events. And those are all amazing. But I think there's something very unique about the game of football and the way the NFL promotes and entertains people when you're in that stadium that is unlike anything else. And I was blown away when I was in Germany. Allianz Arena, it's their big stadium for soccer. It's kind of their showpiece. And really, it's not even close to being in the same class of the stadiums that the NFL has. And they roll out for all 32 NFL teams. And I think the atmosphere that the NFL builds around those games is just something that you need to be able to experience in person to be able to really understand how awesome it is and the energy for 3+ hours that you feel when you go to those games. And so with the NFL bringing those games to people in Australia and Spain and Brazil and Germany and London, I think it gives an opportunity for a lot of people who are fans on TV to really dive in and become diehard, loyal, hardcore fans like we have over in the States.
I think that's just quickly, like, the experience is what I think is so important to selling it to Aussies. Is we love sport, as I said, and there's already a lot of NFL fans, but the feeling of a third down on an important play and the buzz of the crowd pre-game, it's that feeling that you can't even explain, that you just have to be there to experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Comparing it to going to like a big soccer match, soccer game, really fun. There's a lot of chanting. There's a lot of fan involvement. but the game just kind of has this easy ebb and flow to it. You know, a goal is scored, everyone gets excited, of course. But for the most part, it seems like the fans are watching the other fans more than they're watching the game. And, you know, in an NFL game, there is those natural breaks. That's just the game of football where it's a 6-second play and then you've got 30, 40 seconds in between plays. And I think what the NFL has done a really good job of is build the tension and build the excitement as the plays are coming, right? They do a great job of announcing it's third down and they let you know when you're supposed to get excited. And there's obviously a huge home field advantage when you can get loud and you can affect the other team's offense. And I think that the fan engagement and the feeling of being a part of the game is different when you're watching football, especially at the NFL level. You feel like you actually can have an impact on the outcome of what's going on there. And because there are lulls in between plays and during TV timeouts, it gives you as a fan a chance to kind of bring your emotions down, reset, go grab a beer, come back and build up that excitement for that next big play that's going to happen. And I think that's why the NFL is such a popular game. Even if you know nothing about it, you go there and you feel that intensity and you know when the moments are big and when everything is on the line.
Sure. 100%. I think like one of the most important things is having that time to go get your beer during a game of sport. Like, could you imagine if you go to a soccer game and it's a 1-0 game, and if you go to take a piss or go grab a beer and you miss that only goal, you basically miss the whole game. So
Absolutely. You know, I don't want to rag on soccer, but the 2 Euro Cup games that I went to, one ended 0-0 and one was 1-0 and they scored like right at the end, which is supposed to be exciting, but we were kind of bored the whole game because both teams, it was pool play and both teams were trying to tie to move on. And so there was no offense. They weren't even trying to score. And so it was a little slow. And to your point, you know, you miss one goal because you've gone and taken a piss, or you're grabbing your beer because you're getting thirsty from singing and chanting all game, and you've missed everything that happened almost.
not on, is it? It's not on. Well, Joe, if we move on to your career in Cleveland, mate, we actually had one of the listeners wanted us to ask you this question. So you were obviously drafted 3rd overall to Browns, and Cleveland quickly became your home. What was it about the city and the dog pound that made it so special, and what made you hang in there during the tough times?
I think, Jamie, the same thing that drew me to you and Adam was like the passion, right? As soon as I got to Cleveland, I just felt that the loyalty from the fans and how their identity was wrapped up in their fandom of their team. It was something that was very special, and it was something that I immediately was proud to be a part of. And I wanted to make sure that when I went out on the field, I was representing like their identity and their values as well as I possibly could. And being in Cleveland, it's a lot like where I grew up outside of Milwaukee. It's a tough, hardworking, blue collar town that loves their sports. They love having a beer. They love being able to get together with family and friends. And so it was a really easy transition for me. But then I think the core of it was just seeing the passion and the loyalty of that fan base, and how what happened on Sunday 100% dictated the joy or the sadness that everybody in Cleveland has for the next 6 days until the next Browns game happens.
And that's what hooked me. I started as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, LeBron James fan, and then the first person I sort of started to follow was Johnny Football, and that got me to the Browns. And then connecting with someone like yourself and being like, this guy's the best ever at a position. He could go to any other team. There was trades that you could have gone to the Broncos and won Super Bowls, but you were just so loyal. And my Aussie Rules team, who I follow back here, has had 2 premierships in 100 years of existence. So for some reason, I connect with those teams that might not be the successful ones on the field, but it's that loyalty and the passion of the fans is something really special.
Yeah, there's an underdog mentality throughout all of the Midwest, and certainly in Cleveland, and the feeling that, you know, some of the bigger coastal cities, they kind of crap on Cleveland. But it is an awesome place. And I think the root of it is the great people that are there and the loyalty and the pride and the values that they have. And it's certainly reflected in the team that they cheer for with the Cleveland Browns. And it was such an amazing 11 years that I had. We didn't win, but just being part of something so special, it feels like a collective, you know, something that you're willing to sacrifice for, because the joy of the success that the team has and the city feels when you do win and when the team is doing well is that team feeling, right? individual sacrifice for a shared goal. And I think anytime you can involve yourself with anything like that in life, it feels so much more special than if you're just doing something for your own reasons or you're doing something by yourself. And I think that the NFL is the ultimate team sport. And when you play for a team like Cleveland, you really get that feeling unlike anywhere else, where loyalty, where pride, where the identity of that city is really wrapped up in everything that that franchise does. And even when they lose, right, it almost brings you even closer to those other fans because misery loves company. And the ability to like suffer together and still have that pride and that loyalty, I think is something that's unique in sports. And certainly you see it in your Aussie Rules franchise and you see it with the Cleveland Browns certainly as well.
Sure. Well, you started from day one, played 167 straight starts and 10,363 consecutive snaps. You never missed a play, playing a position that is basically a car crash every single play. How did you even do it? Because it is just blows my mind how you could even do it. But what were some of the injuries, I guess, you played through that nearly forced that streak to snap or miss a week here or there?
Yeah, so even though I never missed a play until my 11th season when I tore my tricep tendon, you deal with a lot of injuries and a lot of pain in the NFL. It's just part of the game, right? It's just part of the job, which you understand and you accept when you get into the NFL or you even get into playing football as a kid. But I mean, I dealt with, I don't know, 3 MCL sprains. I think I had 4 knee surgeries during my career in the off season to clean up cartilage that was damaged, tricep tears, glute tears, lots of muscle injuries, high ankle sprains, you know, and then really more than anything, it's just the wear and tear. You know, your joints are constantly just getting little pieces broken off. And I got kicked by a cow today when we were working some of the cattle through the chute, and it almost took me out. I thought I was going down for good. Sometimes things like that happen, and you're like, how the hell did I play almost 11 seasons without missing a play when I can, you know, barely survive getting kicked by a cow these days, and getting up out of a chair sometimes gets a little bit challenging. But I think you just put that warrior mentality on and that suit of armor when you do play football. And there is a pride in being out there and being loyal and being reliable for your teammates. And I think that was really the driving force for me when I played. Was I wanted to be out there because I knew that if I was out there at left tackle, it was giving my team the best chance of success, even if I wasn't at 100%. And I love those guys more than I love myself. I cared for what happened in their careers and with their families more than I cared for my own career, my own family almost. And so I think it's just kind of that love of your brothers that gets you to be able to go out there and play through the injuries and play through the pain and continue to sacrifice even in seasons that are long gone with playoffs off the table, you know, midway through November.
That's the crazy part, and I guess what draws us fans to you, Joe, is and your loyalty is you're willing to put your body on the line, play against some of the best athletes ever any sport could ever give, is those edge rushers coming around, still be the best to ever do it. It blows my mind how you were able to do it for so long in such a position that takes so much for your body. I guess at the end of your career, how long did it take for you to get ready for a game when were you training during the week? I've heard a few stories on Cleveland Browns Daily, but let the listeners know about what it took you to prepare for a game later in your career.
Yeah. At the end of my career, it was almost the mental side that was the biggest struggle because you never know when the wheels are going to fall off all the way and you're not going to be able to keep going. And I was dealing with a really bad knee at the time. So I only got to practice 3 times my last season in the NFL, all in training camp. Then to get ready for the season, I really just got in the pool and I swam to get in shape because I couldn't even get on a bike to get my fitness level up. So it was a challenge of finding how do I get in shape for an NFL game without doing football. And so I found swimming and I found getting in the pool, but I couldn't even really stand at practice because my knee was so bad. So I would do the walkthrough and then I would review the film. And granted, I'd had a lot of seasons under my belt, so I kind of knew what was going on. And I sat through the meetings and I always took diligent notes. But I really had to learn a different way than most people do. And the way I'd learned most of my career, which was like going out and practicing. I had to just watch the film and then I had to do the walkthrough and get everything that I needed to be ready for those games. And it worked pretty well, but the big challenge was just like the mental side, like I said, because you play the game, then you get your knee drained and basically, you know, sliding down the stairs on your butt for a couple of days because you can barely walk. and then you're swimming and you're doing your rehab during the week, you're icing and you're getting anti-inflammatory injections in your knee to try to get the swelling out. And then you'll get another knee drain before the game so that you can have that range of motion back so you can move the knee. Take your painkillers on game day. You survive barely. You get in the ice tub right after a game. And so really the whole week was kind of revolving around, all right, what can I do to keep as much weight off of my knee? And then for 3.5 hours, I pummel it to shit. And then now the rest of the week is like, how do we get the swelling out? How do we get the range of motion back? How do we get you into a situation where you feel somewhat okay, healthy wise, to be able to go out there and go do it again? And that's the real challenge and the rhythm of an NFL season that everybody deals with. It's like you got one game a week, but hey, when you're a rookie, it might take a couple days before you feel good again. And then by the time you're in your 10th season, like you don't feel good ever during the season. You're not recovered even a week later after a game.
I still play Aussie rules back home, and as a 31-year-old, I can preach to that. We're not playing at the level that you are, Joe, but I come home from footy training and I don't get out of it jogging on bloody sore for days. So I don't know how you did it for such a high standard for so long.
Oh, it's brutal, man. It is really a full-time job just getting your body ready for a game after your first couple seasons in the NFL because you do take such a beating.
That's so wild. No, like everyone sees the 3 hours on Sunday, but no one sees the other 24 hours a day for the rest of the week that goes into just getting you out there on the park. I guess as we move forward to the rookies and the NFL draft coming up, Joe, the Browns obviously still searching for their successor at left tackle. Have you had a chance at all to scout this class at all? And is there anyone who sort of stands out to you?
Yeah, I think left tackle's going to be a big position of need still for the Browns going into the season. They've done a great job in free agency, in my opinion, so far, being able to kind of retool that offensive line. They brought in my old offensive line coach, George Warhop, who's one of the best of all time, and a big signing with Titus Howard. They traded from the Houston Texans. They brought him. And I think he's going to be a really, really great starter for them at right tackle. Brought in Zion Johnson from the Chargers, who's another big physical guy on the inside as a run blocker. But looking at the draft, I think Monroe Freeling out of Georgia could be a really, really good pick if he's available there for the Browns at number 6. Playing left tackle because he's a great athlete. He's long. He's got all the makeup of an elite left tackle. And I know with George Warhop as an offensive line coach, he would be great to mold Monroe into a fantastic NFL left tackle.
Monroe Freeling, I've been a bit like, I don't know who we want to pick, but if the Hoff says get Monroe Freeling, that's who we're picking. We want it pick 6.
That's who you want, Browns fans. I know Todd McShay was saying that we could almost see up to 7 tackles go in that first round. Is that something you could potentially see happening as well?
Yeah, because I think one, with this being a wide open passing league right now, you got to be able to protect the quarterback. And there's such a premium on pass rusher. We've seen as Browns fans, what happens if you have a defensive end like Myles Garrett that gets after their quarterback. It puts you in every game, right? We won a bunch of games last year that we had no business winning just because Myles was unblockable and he was always in the backfield. So you've got to have great edge protectors. And additionally, it's much harder to find good pass blockers, good offensive linemen, because they're not being developed the way they used to in college. And so there's a scarcity of them. And so anytime you have a high value and a big scarcity, teams are going to reach a little bit because there's a lot more need along the offensive line. And the nice thing too is if you pick a tackle and he doesn't work out as tackle, a lot of times you can slide him in and he can be a guard and still contribute, and you can still feel like, you know what, we used pick 22. We thought we were going to have our left tackle of the future. It didn't work out there, but we got a really solid guard. And so you still got something with that pick. And that's why that quarterback position is so risky, because you know what, you draft the quarterback in the first round, he doesn't work out as quarterback. It's not like you're going to slide him over there to be the center, or you're going to move him out there to tight end, right? So you kind of have one chance at it when you are picking a quarterback versus that offensive line where you really have multiple positions that you can put him in there to help contribute and build a better team.
While we're talking about quarterbacks, we'll finish up with sort of this. We don't want to hold you too long, but it's well known that the Browns have had a lot of quarterbacks over the years. That's why I went in the Miles jersey last time I was in Cleveland, because I couldn't trust who we had playing at quarterback. But how many quarterbacks did you actually play behind you? And is there any funny stories of meeting quarterbacks?
So I played for 20 starters, and I think Terrell Pryor was a quarterback in college that took a snap when I was in the NFL under center, and we may have had another one in there as well. So it's safe to say I had more than 20 quarterbacks in the NFL. With that said, I think the most interesting one was in 2012. We were playing against the Steelers. It was fourth quarter, and we were already down to our third string quarterback, but it was actually a game, believe it or not. We were in Pittsburgh and we were, I think, down by 6 maybe. And we were driving. We just got into the Heinz red zone. And unfortunately, my left guard went the wrong way on a pass protection. And he let his man come right in and he just knocked out our quarterback. And our quarterback's laying there on the ground. And we're wondering in the huddle, like, who do we have left? This was our third string guy. We know that they brought in a guy this week, but we didn't know who he was because usually you only keep 2 or 3 quarterbacks on the roster. But obviously, already being down to that third string quarterback, you're going to sign somebody during the week. But the busyness of the week, you don't really oftentimes know what the transactions are that the general manager has made because they're always signing guys and cutting guys. And really, you're just practicing with the first group. And so we all looked over to the sideline and sure enough, they got a quarterback and he puts his helmet on and he trots into the huddle. And I had no clue who this dude was. And so I knew that there was a little bit of tension. This was a young quarterback who had just got here, hadn't met anybody, barely knows any of the plays. And so being the captain and the leader, I thought I'd try to break the tension by telling a little joke. And so I just reached out my hand as we're in the TV timeout and I said, "Hey, Mr. Quarterback, nice to meet you. I'm your left tackle. I'm Joe Thomas. Let's go get a fucking touchdown here." And everyone had a little laugh, broke the tension there for a little bit. And turns out his name was Josh Johnson. And in not a surprising strike of turn of events, we did not score a touchdown on that drive. It was third down, and I think we had an incompletion. But the quarterback, Josh Johnson, didn't get hurt. We were able to meet him, and it made for a pretty good story that I can still tell to this day about, hey, do you remember that time that I met the quarterback who was in the game in the fourth quarter?
That's
He's
crazy.
one of the best stories. We actually met Josh Johnson at Radio Row as well. He's a good man. He's
Had a good career. You know, he's bounced around a bunch as kind of a backup, but he made a great career out of it because he became that reliable backup, right, that they could have on the roster. He knew a bunch of offenses, and he was the guy that if they had to put him in there in a pinch, they could throw him out there and he gets a chance to meet a whole new offensive line.
Mr. Quarterback. He should have stuck with that nickname, I reckon.
Mr. Quarterback, yes.
Well, we better let you go, Joe. You've got family things to do and we don't want you to be late for your track coaching. Thank you so much for jumping on board. Where can the listeners find you and get their hands on some Hall of Fame beef?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Joe Thomas 73, and then you can follow me and all my farming stuff at Hall of Fame Farms, and then Hall of Fame Beef or HallOfFameFarms.com. You can go online. You can check out our amazing products. Anything that comes off of a Wagyu steer you can buy there, including our amazing Hall of Fame beef sticks, our Hall of Fame jerky, which we have a subscription for, and really anything that you want to treat yourself to the most amazing farm-to-table beef on earth. Go to our website, check it out, and I really appreciate helping support the family farm and the business that we're trying to make into something really special out here in Wisconsin.
Best in the business, people. When you're over in the States, make sure you get some Hall of Fame beef.
I'm having steak for breakfast this morning, I reckon.
I love it. A good man. A man after my own heart. Steak and eggs, or it's not a real day, and it's not really a good way to wake up.
100%.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for listening in, people, and hope you enjoyed.